In 1993, a terrorist cell in Somalia took American soldiers hostage. The US called in their elite Delta Force. They failed. Then, a group of operators nobody had ever heard of rappelled from helicopters into the chaos. Within 90 seconds, every hostage was freed. 0 casualties. The terrorists never saw them coming. Who were they? Not Navy SEALs, not SAS, not Delta Force. They were Grom, Poland's ghost operators. And this is the story the military doesn't want you to know. June 1990. The Cold War had just ended. The world believed the danger was over. But Poland saw something coming that others didn't. A new kind of threat was emerging. While NATO countries were downsizing their militaries, Poland made a quiet, classified decision. They would build a special forces unit unlike anything they had before. Not a rebrand, not an upgrade. A true Tier 1 unit, capable of operating anywhere, against anyone. There was one major problem. Poland had never created an elite unit at this level. No doctrine, no blueprint, no margin for failure. So they did the unthinkable. They searched the entire Polish military for the absolute best. Military intelligence operators, combat-proven commandos, and even veterans trained alongside the world's most elite units. Selection was merciless. Mental endurance mattered more than strength. Mistakes meant instant removal. In the first year, 200 men applied. Only 13 survived the process. Those 13 would become the foundation of one of Europe's most feared special forces units. Physical test, 87% failure rate. Psychological evaluation, 92% rejection rate. Final selection, only 6.5% pass rate. Compare that to Navy SEAL training, where about 25% of candidates graduate. Grom's standards were 4 times harder. But here's what makes Grom truly unique. Unlike other special forces that specialize in one area, like the SEALs in maritime operations or the SAS in counterterrorism, Grom operators are required to master everything. Maritime operations, diving, underwater demolition, Halo, Hey-Ho parachute operations, mountain warfare, urban combat and hostage rescue, intelligence gathering and espionage, VIP protection, counterterrorism. They're essentially combining Navy SEAL, Delta Force, SAS, and CIA Special Activities Division training into one unit. The name Grom means thunderbolt in Polish, and that's exactly how they operate, striking fast, striking hard, and disappearing before anyone knows what happened. Let me tell you about 3 missions that prove Grom is among the deadliest units on Earth. These aren't Hollywood stories. These are real operations that changed modern warfare. Operation 1, Haiti, 1994. The year Grom was founded, Haiti was in chaos. A military coup had overthrown the government, and foreign nationals were trapped. The US military was planning a full-scale invasion. But there was one problem. They needed intelligence on the ground. Real-time, accurate intelligence that could only come from boots on the ground in enemy territory. Enter Grom. In their first year of existence, Grom operators infiltrated Port-au-Prince, gathering critical intelligence that would save hundreds of lives. They operated in civilian clothes, completely undetected, in one of the most dangerous cities on Earth. But here's the insane part. They weren't even fully trained yet. Some operators had been in the unit for less than 6 months. The operation was a complete success, and it put Grom on the map for Western intelligence agencies. Operation 2, Iraq, 2003. When the US invaded Iraq in 2003, Grom was already on the ground. But their mission wasn't frontline combat. It was something far more strategic. While coalition forces focused on toppling Saddam's military, Grom was tasked with protecting Iraq's oil infrastructure, the backbone of the country's future. This mattered for one critical reason. Saddam Hussein had ordered every major oil platform, pipeline junction, and refinery rigged with explosives. If detonated, Iraq would have been left burning, economically crippled for generations. Environmental damage would have dwarfed the Gulf War oil fires. The global energy market would have been shaken overnight. Grom moved fast. Operators launched lightning raids on 23 separate oil facilities, often ahead of advancing ground forces. In several locations, they were forced to disarm explosives while under direct enemy fire. There was no margin for error. One mistake meant catastrophe. They succeeded at all 23 sites. Not a single facility was destroyed. Later, U.S. military assessments estimated that Grom's actions saved over $50 billion in economic damage. A silent victory few people ever heard about. Operation 3. Afghanistan. The rescue nobody knows about. This mission remains largely classified, but fragments of the story still circulate in special forces circles. In 2008, a high-value NATO intelligence officer was captured by Taliban forces in eastern Afghanistan. The danger wasn't symbolic, it was operational. The officer possessed knowledge of ongoing missions, safe houses, and allied movements. If that information was extracted, dozens of NATO soldiers could have been killed. Time was running out. Grom received the call. What followed became legend. A 4-man Grom team infiltrated a heavily guarded Taliban compound, housing more than 40 enemy fighters. The odds were brutal. The margin for failure didn't exist. What happened next has never been officially released. But the outcome is known. The officer was recovered alive. The compound was neutralized, and the team vanished back into the night. No press conference, no headlines. Just another mission completed by a unit built to operate in silence. In 12 minutes, they neutralized perimeter guards silently, breached 3 defensive positions, located and extracted the hostage, exfiltrated via helicopter under heavy fire. The hostage had minor injuries. The Grom team, not a scratch. One U.S. Special Forces officer who witnessed the operation said, and I quote, "I've worked with SEALs, Delta, SAS, and everyone else. What Grom did that night was the most professional op I've ever seen." So how does Grom produce operators this effective? The answer lies in their training philosophy, and it's unlike anything else in the world. The psychological crucible. Grom doesn't just test your body. They break down your mind first. Before a single bullet is fired, candidates are pushed through psychological evaluations that last months, not days. Every reaction is measured, every weakness noted. They face extreme stress scenarios with no warning. Sleep deprivation lasting up to 5 days. Moral dilemma tests. Would you sacrifice one to save many? Resistance to interrogation training so intense it makes standard military programs look mild. This isn't cruelty, it's necessity. Grom operators are often deployed alone or in pairs, deep behind enemy lines, with no backup and no second chances. If someone breaks under pressure, the mission and lives are lost. Only those who remain calm, focused, and functional when everything collapses are allowed to continue. Phase 2, the multi-domain mastery. This is where Grom separates itself from almost everyone else. They don't specialize in one environment, they master all of them. Maritime training, combat diving, to depths exceeding 40 meters, underwater demolition and mine clearance, shipboarding and maritime interdiction, submarine insertion and extraction operations. Operators are trained to function in total darkness, cold water, and zero visibility, where panic means death. Airborne training, halo jumps from 30,000 plus feet, Haytaho gliding insertions, covering 40 plus miles from the drop point, helicopter fast roping and rappelling, parachute operations in extreme and unpredictable weather. They learn to arrive unseen, unheard, and unexpected. Ground combat, urban warfare and close quarters battle, wilderness survival in extreme environments, mountain and Arctic operations, desert combat and long-range patrols. Every terrain becomes familiar ground. Specialized skills, advanced marksmanship with precision shots beyond 500 meters, fluency in at least 2 foreign languages, espionage, reconnaissance, and intelligence gathering. By the end, a Grom operator isn't just a soldier. They are a one-man task force, capable of adapting to almost any mission on Earth, and only a fraction of those who begin ever make it this far. The entire training pipeline takes 2 to 3 years. Compare that to Navy SEALs or Army Rangers. Phase 3, the real-world testing. But here's where it gets really interesting. Grom doesn't just train and deploy. They constantly cross-train with other elite units. They've trained with US Navy SEAL Team 6, British SAS, Israeli Sarin Matkal, French GIGN, German GSG-9, and according to multiple sources, Grom consistently outperforms in joint exercises, particularly in speed of mission execution, stealth and concealment, adaptability to changing situations. Why? Because Grom operators are taught to think, not just follow orders. Every operator is trained to take command if needed. Every operator can plan and execute complex operations independently. The equipment, Grom uses some of the most advanced gear in the world, custom-modified weapon systems, state-of-the-art night vision and thermal optics, encrypted communication systems, specialized breaching tools, and equipment so classified even NATO allies don't know about it. But here's the thing about Grom, they're not gear-dependent, they're trained to complete missions with minimal equipment. One former operator said, "Give me a knife and a radio, and I'll complete the mission." So if Grom is this elite, why aren't they famous like the Navy SEALs or SAS? 3 reasons.
Reason 1. Poland's operational security culture, task sauce. Poland learned hard lessons from World War II and the Cold War. Secrecy saves lives. While the US military has embedded journalists and public affairs officers promoting their special forces, Poland keeps Grom completely off the radar. Grom operators don't write books. They don't appear on podcasts. They don't do movie consulting. There are no Grom movies, no video games, no documentaries approved by the unit. Why? Because the moment you become famous, you become predictable, and predictability gets you killed. Reason 2. They operate in the shadows. Specialty isn't kicking down doors on camera. It's the missions that never make the news. Intelligence gathering in hostile nations, VIP protection for NATO leaders, counterterrorism operations where success means nothing happens, training foreign special forces in countries you can't pronounce. These aren't sexy. They don't get headlines. But they prevent wars, save lives, and protect democracy. Reason 3. Size matters, but not how you think. Compare that to Dominate SEALs. Approximately 2,500 active duty. Army Special Forces. Approximately 7,000 plus. British SAS ~500. 607 with only 300 operators. Grom can maintain extreme selectivity. Every single operator is essentially Tier 1. There's no support tier or junior operators. If you're in Grom, you're elite. Period. But here's the real secret. The reason you haven't heard of Grom is because that's exactly how they want it. While other Special Forces units have become brands, Grom remains a ghost. And in the world of special operations, being invisible is the ultimate tactical advantage. When a Grom operator retires, they disappear back into society. No security consulting firms. No podcasts bragging about their operation. One former CIA officer told me, "The scariest operators I've worked with were Grom. Not because of what they did, but because of how thoroughly they disappeared afterward." So what's the takeaway? Poland's Grom proves that you don't need the biggest military budget, the most soldiers, or the flashiest PR campaign to create an elite force. You need brutal selection standards, pine comprehensive training, and operators who value the mission over personal glory. Today, Grom continues to operate in the shadows. They're in conflict zones you see on the news and countries you'll never hear about. They're protecting NATO interests, rescuing hostages, and preventing terrorist attacks. And they're doing it all while remaining virtually unknown to the public. The next time you hear about a mysterious Special Forces unit pulling off an impossible mission in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, or Africa, there's a good chance it was Grom. They're the ghost operators, the silent professionals, the warriors who don't seek glory because their results speak for themselves. Now you know about Poland's secret weapon. The question is, what other elite units are out there that we've never heard of? If you want to learn about more secret military units that rival the SEALs and Delta Force, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Next week, I'm covering Ukraine's Alpha Group, the unit that's been devastating Russian special forces and nobody's talking about it. Drop a comment below. Which country do you think has the most underrated special forces? This has been Miltech Underground. Stay tactical, stay curious. And remember, the best warriors are the ones you never see coming.